in charge of the grain piles in Egypt, did something astounding. In a severe famine, having more grain than he could even count or store. Well, today on Fixing the Money thing, we're going to look at the harvest and try to dig into the story. Why was there a huge pile of grain amidst a severe famine? How did it get there? How would it change your life if you had access to a grain pile yourself? Today on Fixing the Money thing. When you are promoted, you're promoted into more responsibility. Responsibility is what brings checks. The world pays people to handle responsibility, to handle authority properly, responsibility. Let's take a look at the word responsibility here for a second. The root word for responsibility is to respond with your ability. Seriously. I'm serious. Responsibility means responding with your ability to an assignment, a task, something you have to, a problem, to fix a problem. Responsibility. You're going to respond with your ability to a task. Again, what did Potiphar see? He saw Joseph responding to his assignment, carrying responsibility. What kind of responsibility? We're not looking at him in the sense of ruling Egypt. We're going way back here in the beginning, cleaning toilets. He's a slave in Potiphar's house, right? What did Potiphar see? Those are the cleanest toilets I've ever seen in my life. That is the best menial task done I've ever seen. I don't want to be a menial task person. I want to be a ruler. I want to, this and that. This starts someplace. How you handle with integrity, how you respond with your ability to handling responsibility determines promotion. We need this taught in our culture, that's for sure. Everyone's trying to market themselves into a new place without any character. It just doesn't work that way. So the story goes on. Again, his wife, Potiphar's wife, accuses him, Joseph, of raping her, and now he finds himself in prison. Look what it says in Genesis 39, verse 20. Joseph's master, Potiphar, took him, put him in prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. But while Joseph was in the prison, what does it say? The Lord, come on, what does it say? The Lord was with him. The Lord was with him in prison. He showed kindness, granted him favor in the eyes of the prison ward. What does it mean, granted him favor? Did God's favor? Is that what it means? No. Look what it means. So the warden put Joseph in charge of all those held in prison. Favor is when you make a difference to the degree they recognize that. Potiphar saw success and he gained favor. The jailer saw success in him handling responsibility. He had favor. So crazy Christians, there is a spiritual anointing. I do understand the culture of the anointing on you. People, by the anointing, produce favor. But one thing that you can do is you can produce favor everywhere you go by doing things with excellence. Ask a business owner how they would love to find employees that actually care about their prosperity instead of their own. I guarantee if you do everything with your ability to help your boss prosper, you will be recognized. I guarantee it. The Lord was with him in prison. It says the warden made him responsible for all that was done in prison. The warden paid no attention to anything under Joseph's care because the Lord was with Joseph and gave him success in everything. It sounds exactly the same story as it was in Potiphar's house. No matter where he's at, he is prospering unto the Lord. He is serving the Lord with his entire heart, with his responsibility, his response with his ability and God's help. But Pastor, there's no glory where I'm at. It's a dark place. Right, so light it up. You're the glory of that place. Light it up. Light it up. Let the light come on, no matter where you're at. Joseph was in prison. No one knew he was there, but God did. In prison, something unique happened. Pharaoh had two of his employees he threw in prison, a cupbearer and a baker. While there, of course, they met Joseph, who was in charge of the prison. They both had dreams. They shared the dreams with Joseph, and Joseph said he could interpret them, which he did. He said the cupbearer would be returned to service in the king's court, and the baker would be executed, and that's exactly what happened. Let's take a look at this text in verse 9 of chapter 41. Then the chief cupbearer said to Pharaoh, now Pharaoh also had a dream. Let me set the stage. Pharaoh now has had a dream himself and is trying to find someone to interpret it he cannot find. The cupbearer, being in the court, says this to Pharaoh. Today I'm reminded of my shortcomings. Pharaoh was once angry with his servants, and he imprisoned me and the chief baker in the house of the captain of the guard. Each of us had a dream the same night, and each dream had a meaning of its own. A young Hebrew was there with us, a servant of the captain of the guard. We told him of our dreams. He interpreted them for us, giving each man the interpretation of his dream, and things turned out exactly as he interpreted them to us. I was restored to my position. The other man was hung, some versions say, some say impaled. So Pharaoh sent for Joseph, and he was quickly brought from the dungeon. When he had shaved and changed his clothes, he came before Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I had a dream and no one could interpret it, but I've heard it said of you that when you hear a dream, you can interpret it. I cannot do it, Joseph said to Pharaoh, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires. Notice it says, it has been said. I have heard it said of you. I have heard it said of you. I have heard you clean toilets really well. What is said of you, friend? If we were to ask your employer, ask, what was said of you? See, people discount the menial task. They don't understand that it's in the menial task they're developing a culture of excellence. They're developing a culture of integrity. And God knows where they're at. He knows their name. You don't have to market yourself out of an impossible situation. You serve the living God with your entire heart, knowing that he will bring you out and can bring you out. Say this with me, sudden promotion. Joseph is in prison, hopeless. One day, in that same day, brought, shaved, dressed, stands before Pharaoh, and set in place to rule the nation. But that's not how it happens. That's how the world likes to talk about how it happens in the movies. That's how they like to see it happen, is all of a sudden this person, these stories you hear. But in real life, it all happens underground when no one knows your name. When you're tested with your loyalty, your faithfulness, even though everything's stacked against you, the dysfunction of your family life, the disloyalty you've experienced, all the pain and helplessness and hopelessness you've experienced, it's when you handle things with integrity there in that kind of mindset before the living God that God knows your name. Sudden promotion.
We continue the Grain Pile Principle series right after this. Today, from Gary Keesee, a new series of messages based on the story of Joseph and his inconceivable successes in Egypt. Amazing lessons you need to learn to help you fix your money bank.
Grain pile principle. Grain piles. While the rest of the world's in severe drought, Egypt has more than enough. That's how your life's supposed to look.
In the Grain Pile Principle, Gary dissects the events in Joseph's life to discover the principles and processes you have to know to achieve success in everything you do.
Listen, friend, this is life. The Grain Pile Principle. This is how it works. It's amazing.
Gary teaches you that through the promises of God, you too can produce grain piles to help you prosper and be generous. You'll discover that your God is bigger than every situation, and his guidance is a game changer.
I call this the Grain Pile Principle because I want you to see a picture in your mind. When I say the Grain Pile Principle, I want you to see the effect of the blessing. You should see a big pile of grain.
Call, write, or visit GaryKeesee.com now. And for your $30 or more ministry gift, you'll get the Grain Pile Principle on 4 CDs.
Well, Pastor, I just don't see much happening in my life. That's the problem.
Gary lays out the 5 steps of the grain pile process: the promises of God, preparation, revelation, administration, and the harvest. Following Joseph's 5 steps will lead you to immeasurable grain piles in your life.
The Grain Pile Principle is the blessing of the Lord.
As a bonus, Gary wants to send you Drenda's powerful new teaching, Hearing God's Voice.
Not only can you hear the voice of God, you need to hear the voice of God.
Drenda's stories and experiences clearly and simply illustrate the importance of hearing, recognizing, and following God's voice.
If you fall, get up and hear the voice of God and do whatever he says to do. He knows how to get you out of the mess you got yourself into.
Hearing God's voice is the perfect complement to the grain pile principle, proving that ultimate success comes from hearing and following his voice.
You can hear the voice of God. It's not hard to hear, but you have to be quiet. You have to pull aside. You have to listen.
Call 888-391-LIFE. That's 888-391-5433. Go to GaryCassie.com or write Faith Life Now, P.O. Box 779, New Albany, Ohio 43054. And for your $30 or more ministry gift, get the new Grain Pile Principle series on 4 CDs and the bonus Hearing God's Voice message to complement the teaching.
If you are not prospering, you need to pay very close attention to this series. If God's with you, you should prosper.
Gary and Trenda created these materials to mentor you in the kingdom principles that created their success and help you continue to fix your money thing. God created you to win. Call, write, or log on to start enjoying the grain pile victories in your life now. Let's return to Faith Life Church and continue Gary's series, The Grain Pile Principle, now on Fixing the Money Thing.
When I was in Albania, God spoke to me, this is years ago, and God spoke to me about going to the nations. He said, I'm sending you to the nations to share my financial covenant of blessing, and wherever you go, I'll pay for it. And so I was thinking, what does that mean? Am I going to travel all the time to the nations? Well, I didn't know what that meant, but we came home. Trenda and I, we began to feel a stirring kind of towards television. Now, we knew nothing about television. Can you say the word nothing with me? Zero, nothing, zero, nor did we want to. Trenda is eating lunch with a couple ladies, and one of these ladies says to her, are you doing television yet? Yet? No, we're nobody. I mean, no one knows us. This is the first time she met this lady. The lady turns to her, are you doing television yet? Does that sound kind of strange? Yet? Well, no, Trenda says. Well, when you do, call this guy. She puts an email address down and a name. That's it. Trenda sticks it in her purse. One day we're up in the office. We're just, she has her desk. I have my desk. She pulls this slip out. Says, I'm just going to text this guy. I'm going to email this guy just to see what's there. She emails this guy and begins to kind of share a little bit. And he invites us to the National Religious Broadcasters National Event, the NRB, and wants to meet us, talk about television. So he invited us to his penthouse, this penthouse suite they had up there at the Gaylord down in, what city is it in? Down in Nashville. And so I bought a new suit. We walk up there. I was nervous, this penthouse, here's the doors. We walk back and forth in front of that door for quite a while. She knocked on the door, we're out of our league. We're out of, this is new territory for us. They open the door and there's 7 people in suits in a semicircle with 2 chairs. They were going to question us about television. Why do you want to do television? What makes you think you can do television, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And all we can share is the passion we have for sharing the kingdom message. That's all we had. We didn't know nothing about television. So we start this conversation with this guy. We never knew who he was. We just knew his name. And he's agreed to kind of explore the possibilities of doing television with us. And he wants to meet us. So he's going to come out to our house in Mount Vernon. Now, again, we don't know who he is yet. It's just part of this whole crowd there. And so he comes to our house, and he sits down, and he says, now, in case you don't know this, I do Joel Osteen's television broadcast. I do Joyce's broadcast. And he listed all these ministries he does broadcast for. I am thinking to myself, how did you get out here in the country on a gravel road in the middle of nowhere? How did you get here? Listen, God is in the business of sudden promotion. Gary and Trenda Cassie all of a sudden show up on television. And people think, well, how did that happen? Well, it happened back here. And there was a day when circumstances and God destined for an intersection of destiny that brought us to a new place. But it happened back here. Does that make any sense? Proverbs chapter 22, verse 1, that a good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold. I've heard it said of you, God's in the business of promotion. Put your confidence in him. No matter how impossible it is, you worship him, you serve him. What about that grain pile? Joseph was in charge of Potiphar's house. He did such a great job that Potiphar did not have to worry about a thing. He went to prison, falsely accused. But in prison, he did such a great job that the warden of the prison did not have to think or worry about a thing. He ran the whole thing. So what happened when he took over Egypt? When Pharaoh put him over Egypt, guess what? The blessing of the Lord came upon the land of Egypt. In the midst of a severe famine, Egypt is now the wealthiest nation on the earth with so much grain, with every nation around them crashing and burning, people dying of starvation. Egypt shines like a beacon of light, people coming from all nations to survive and get the grain from Egypt. Egypt has so much grain, they can't even store it all. Friend, what am I saying? You have the blessing. What is the grain pile principle? What is it? We talked about it last week. Well, I don't remember you talking about the grain pile principle last week. Yes, I did. It's called the blessing of the Lord. The grain pile principle is the blessing of the Lord. And it produces results and it produces change. And your life is to be a lender, not a borrower. You are to be generous on every occasion. You can look at the promises. Your life is to be someone's light. Someone sees you and they go, there is a difference with that person. They are prospering. They have peace. There's a difference. They have the promises. You have the promises. Let me tell you about the promises. It's called the good news. The word gospel means good news. Join the team. You can have the promises also. Friend, this is your destiny. I didn't make it up. That's what the Bible says. You have the blessing. You say, well, how come people aren't prospering to that degree, Pastor? Because the blessing, as Deuteronomy 8 says, whatever you put your hands to comes under the blessing. Potiphar put his stuff under Joseph, it came under the blessing. Put the jail under Joseph, it came under the blessing. Pharaoh put Egypt under Joseph's care, it came under the blessing. The blessing. You have a choice. You can put 3 tomato plants under the blessing or 50,000 tomato plants under the blessing. The problem is you don't know who you are. We don't know what we have. And the purpose of this series is I want to wake you up. I want you to know who you are. I want you to know the promises. You have the blessing. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. You are not as you suppose. You're not weak. You are strong. And you can create. God with you can do mighty and miracle things in your life. And you can have an amazing sudden promotion to a place of destiny God has ordained you to be. And you are to have more than enough. I mean, fear should be listen, friend, this is life. The grain pile principle. This is how it works. It's amazing.
Today, from Gary Cassie, a new series of messages based on the story of Joseph and his inconceivable successes in Egypt. Amazing lessons you need to learn to help you fix your money thing.
Grain pile principle. Grain pile. While the rest of the world's in severe drought, Egypt has more than enough. That's how your life's supposed to look.
In the grain pile principle, Gary